A lot of people get stuck in a rut where they work a job their whole life that they don't even like.
Right.
And they stay there because maybe
it makes money.
It makes money.
Money equals happiness.
And it buys them some toys, but they don't really have fulfillment.
Right.
They have a job, they may have a decent house and maybe a car, but all of it is, a lot of times, it's just built on debt.
We're empty inside and we try to fill that with stuff, and it never works.
No.
Just filling your life with stuff just makes you fat.
Whenever we come to the end of our life, we're not going to look back and wish we had more stuff.
Is Christianity compatible with the American dream?
We talk about the church, family, theology, and even entertainment. In fact, if it's Christian, we're talking about it. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, we are here, and this is Mike Charleston, and this is the Mike Charleston Show, and we are joined today with Larry and Chuck.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Hey. Oh, by the way,
yes.
Happy Star Wars Day.
It is.
May the 4th be with you.
That's May the 4th. It's also Lisp Day. May the 4th be with you.
That's good. Sorry.
Yes, it is. It's Star Wars Day. Okay, and Sarah's here also.
I can see this tomorrow.
I'm here too.
Yes. Okay. So I don't know. We've been saying this for the last 3 weeks. This might be the last episode of the season.
Yeah, Lydia told me we need to take that out. We can't say this is the last. This is the
We're
last.
working on new things. We got some new ideas for the next season, and they're going to be great. We were going to give you a little preview, but we ran into something that we wanted to talk about. But so no preview.
Yeah, Joshua asked me last night. I said, "Oh, so y'all doing the podcast?" Like, well, yeah, it's Thursday. It's when we do it. He's like,
That's right.
No, they talked about us. Oh, yeah, I forgot.
You guys are the last one to find out sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry about that. But no, we're gonna do a show today, in the next season we are working on where Sarah has a segment for her song of the week. She's got a lot of songs. She says it's not too many songs that
She only needs 52.
Well, she has
it's
like
hard
more.
to limit to 52.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's so many.
And so then we have some history segment, and then supposedly Larry's going to have news of the weird or something.
Yeah, I've got some. Yeah, that'll
maybe
be fun.
serious news. I don't know. Just
Well,
news.
you know,
We can talk about-
entertaining maybe.
And
Maybe a mix.
We'll be surprised.
Yeah.
okay.
But-
So yeah. And we may have. We're working on different things how we can make the show a little bit more better. So anyway,
more gooder
more good. Yeah,
for
that's
those
right.
in Louisiana.
That's hey now. Okay, so what are we talking about today?
Or Mississippi, I should say.
We didn't know really what to title this, so by the time you guys get this, we'll know what the title is. Obviously, but right now we don't know. But it's something about like the things of this world. We were talking about how. You didn't want me to tell how we got talking about it.
I said you shouldn't bring that up.
No, we weren't. I was actually joking because we were talking about our kids and how they got married and how they were focused on going to this ministry thing and this thing and how all these things got canceled because they got married. And I'm like, oh, because they care about the things of the world. And I started singing Things of the World by DC Talk. Now, okay, right. And that's like a 25-year-old song.
I'd like to hear that.
Really?
Did you get it recorded? Well, you singing it.
Oh, no. But we did have the lyrics, and one of the lyrics on there just caught me as we were going through the lyrics, and the one was, our mind transform a want to a need, a simple process we call greed. And I was like, wow, that's kind of deep, you know?
Yeah.
That's actually good rhymes and all that. And then the rest, so I looked through the rest of the song and I was like, okay, you know, they have a good point here. And we wanted to kind of talk about that also just because of what is, you know, the American dream? This is a hard subject for me to talk about. Let me just tell you that because I'm so anti-American culture. Like, I don't really like our culture here in America. I love living here, don't get me wrong, but I just, the culture doesn't always make it so conducive for Christianity. You know what I'm saying? And especially with when it comes to greed and covetousness and money and stuff like that, that is part of what we are. It's ingrained in us to go get it, which is a good thing. You know, to be a go-getter.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but it was ingrained into us that we had to work for it.
Absolutely. Right.
And when we grew up, that's what you were to strive, you were to work, you were to actually try to improve yourself. Not so much today.
Well, no, but that's what we wanted to talk about was that the Christianity is. So, what is the whole purpose the whole purpose of life. And the song, you had the lyrics of the song, and I'm not trying to promote DC Talk here, by the way, but so here they had the lyrics here is 70 years is all we got to accumulate goods that seem to mean a lot. For the first 20 years, we're off to school, learning principles and learning the tools to make lots of money, the ultimate goal, gain the whole world and yet lose your soul. Humanism is on the roll. 20 to get the knowledge, 30 years to apply, and 20 years left asking why. I didn't realize what it was all about, and was there any use in this rigorous route? And I bet you a lot of people get to that point. We have the midlife crisis, right?
You know, you read a lot better whenever you do it in rhyme and rap.
Okay, yeah. Well, I know the song a little bit, but they have the midlife crisis, and this is where I think a lot of people forget about Christians at this point, just people in general. Yeah. They get to a point where, hey, I just spent 20 years of my life growing up, and then in the next 30 years or 40, I apply what I learned, I have a career, and then at the end, in the middle of this, it's like, what are we really doing here? Right. What is the purpose of life? And so this gets really, to the core of Christianity, because Christians, we have a purpose. We have an ultimate goal that we're reaching toward, and American culture can sometimes get in the way. Because sometimes we think this is heaven on earth. Yeah. Because we got it pretty good here. Let's be fair. Yeah. I don't want to hear that in slow motion, by the way. That's an inside joke. So why don't we just get right to it? Who's going to ask the question? We have too big of a gap.
The first one. What is the American dream? But we didn't really
is the American dream?
Define it.
Right. So there's really no real definition of like American dream. We tried looking up what other people's view of American dream. The American dream is, but why don't we ask you guys, what do you think is the American dream?
You want to go first?
Off the top of your head.
I think for me, and I guess I'm going back to the culture that I grew up in, because I think it's more defined by when you grew up than necessarily where you're at. But at that point, it was, get married, have a family, own your house, have a job, and
make something of yourself.
Make something of yourself. Right.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. That's what I would agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's I think that is the American dream. Like when you have foreigners coming over here, what they want to do is freedom.
Yeah.
To get away from a tyrannical government, or the ability to raise their kids in a certain way, to live life in a certain way, whether that be a different religion other than Christianity. They come here for freedom, and you can make something of yourself. You're not like in India where you're born in a certain sect or a what do they call it?
Caste
system, right? Yeah. So you're limited to your caste. If you want to be president, you can, I don't know why you'd want to, but you could work your way up there.
Yeah.
It's not based on how you were born, it's...
You'd have to be born here to be president.
Well, that is a good point,
Yeah. Just to clarify.
Good point. But maybe that was a bad example. But if you wanted to go to school, better yourself, get educated, and make something of yourself, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not. I was going to say, the American dream isn't really all that bad.
No, the only where the problem comes in, I think, is where we go too far, and it becomes all consuming, where it's not just good enough to make a life for yourself here. Now it's consuming you. You're working overtime. You're going to school, and too much, and you neglect your family. You neglect the important things of life. You're like, what is the whole purpose of this life? And you forgot about that.
Well, that's a good point. You brought up midlife crisis, and I think a lot of people go through that. I haven't yet because I don't have a
crisis. You don't have a life.
I don't have a life.
Yeah.
But,
wow.
No. What was I going to say? I forgot. Oh no. But I think a lot of people get stuck in a rut where they work a job their whole life that they don't even like.
Right.
And they stay there because maybe
it makes money.
It makes money, and it buys them some toys, but they don't really have fulfillment.
Right.
They have a job. They may have a decent house and maybe a car, but all of it is, a lot of times, it's just built on debt.
Right. I think that's a very good point, because I think the danger today is that at a much younger age, instead of waiting to where you can work and earn the earn the dollars to be able to buy the things, the people actually will go into debt to go ahead and purchase them now. Now they are in a position where they're a slave to the things they purchased.
Right.
And they have no option but to continue to work.
Right. And they work a job that they, like I said, they don't like, and they stay there. I was just talking to somebody about this just recently, how we tend to stay with what is comfortable and familiar.
We do.
Yeah.
Because even though
Because it's comfortable.
Yeah, we become comfortable in our misery.
Yes.
And we stay there. And
Wow.
because we want to pursue whatever we think is the American dream, to have stuff that actually the stuff we can't even afford, but we want to have it, like having a brand new car. Is it worth it in the end?
Well, is the stuff actually bringing us happiness?
Right, yeah.
It does. Like at first, it can, buying a
Initially.
new car,
Yeah.
that's fun, exciting. But then 2 months later, or an iPhone. How many people out there have to get the newest iPhone when it comes out, or the newest car? You have a 3-year-old car. I would love to have a 3-year-old car.
Yeah, me too.
I think I have a 20-year-old car. But a 3-year-old car, you get tired with it, and you just want to turn it in to get a new car. And I know there's people who can justify why they need a newer car, and whatever. That's between you and God.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is some of those things aren't the thing that brings us happiness as Christians.
Right.
The world is seeking after those pleasures, like we were talking about last week, trying to avoid those bad things in life by surrounding ourselves with security and things that will bring us happiness. And it's a false sense of security and a false sense of happiness, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well,
okay.
I was reading about the American dream and getting ready for this, and it seems like on the one hand, the one aspect is that people say that hard work deserves success. And so, like you say, you growing up that, you were taught to work hard, and if you work hard, you'll be rewarded with, you make the money to be able to buy the stuff that you want. And so the hard work aspect, I think, is a great thing.
Right, that's the good part.
But then there's the other aspect that I feel like goes with it often, is that money equals happiness.
Right.
And
Right.
so, the more money you have, then the happier you have. And I think that's where...
Well, we proved that was true, right?
Oh, that's right. 'Cause we said earlier, we were like, well, wow.
When we got married, we had nothing, no
Nothing,
money,
like zero
nothing,
in
and
our
we were
bank.
happy.
We were.
But now we're
We
even
had more
happier.
money, and we were happier.
So
Well,
therefore,
see, there you go.
that we're happy because of
The logic
Christ.
is impeccable.
Yeah.
Yes, it's how can you argue that, right? No, but honestly, we're happier today because of who we are in Christ, right? And
Yeah.
that's really at the forefront of this is who are we and what is our purpose? And a lot of these things of the world, we get caught up at times. And look, we're all humans. We're going to get caught up at some point. There's even a verse, I forget where it is. You probably don't even have it on your sheet over there, where if you're married, you got to concern yourself with the things of this world. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Because women really care about the things of this world. And no, I'm just
Wow.
kidding. Guys do too. Look at their Harleys and boats and things. But we do. There are concerns that are part of this world. The problem is that where our heart is, do we want to get caught up in those things? And it's all, you were asking that, how do we know when that line is come, right?
Right. Yeah. That's a tough.
That is a tough one.
Where does the line between contentment and greed?
Right.
It's. I think it's more of a heart attitude,
Yeah.
or what you're placing your emphasis on. If you're, yeah, that's right. It's coming to me.
In the church.
Well, I mean, because money. If you look at money as if you pursue that to get more money, you may succeed.
You might. Right.
But money.
At what cost?
Yeah, at what
Exactly.
cost? There's always a cost involved,
Yep.
and money is a great tool. Wealthy people can do a lot with their money, more than what poor people can do. But money is also a terrible master.
But yeah,
So-
and it's the American dream is more of in America, obviously, but it is where the rat race, where
Yeah,
it
that's
just
it, yeah.
goes, and you don't question what you're doing,
like the
why.
hamster on the wheel.
Right, you just spinning your wheels for what purpose? And like as Christians, some of the things that should be important to us, our families, are worshiping God, our relationship with God, spending time with Him, our children, and our relationship with friends and church and those people, and ministry, reaching out to a lost world, and yet we get in that cycle of I got to keep up with the Joneses. I got to have the newest car, the better house, the things. So I got to go into debt. I got to work overtime to do these things. So I don't even get to spend time with my family. The weekends, I'm just living for the weekends.
Yep.
And that's when I can have fun. And that usually doesn't include my family. Because I want to do the things I want to do. And so I go and do whatever without my kids. And it's like, what is the point of this life? And the American life, the American dream tends to greed. It tends toward that. It doesn't have to, but it does. It feels, because we're empty inside and we try to fill that with stuff. And it never works.
No.
Just filling your life with stuff just makes you fat.
I think a lot of this comes from, some people may disagree with me, but I think if you look at it, you might find I'm correct.
Oh.
Yeah. That's right. A lot of this comes from the Industrial Revolution.
Sure.
Because that afforded us to have goods at a cheaper cost.
Right.
And then it gave rise to factories where families actually had to leave the home to go to work.
Right.
And they were gone most of the day. Whereas in an agrarian society, the family unit worked together, raising crops or animals, whatever. But they were together, and so you didn't have this sort of 9 to 5. You worked hard, and it was a tough life, but you worked together as a family, and there was a lot more rewards in that. So there was a good.
And where's that brought us as a nation today?
Well, exactly, yeah.
I mean, we have the largest trade deficit ever.
Right. Yeah.
We're a debtor nation to places like China.
Yeah.
And yet we just keep spending.
Yeah, and our families are falling apart.
Right. We don't have time to
that's
spend
what greed,
with each other
what covetousness does.
Well,
Right.
yeah, you talked
to pay
about a cost involved, like the Industrial Revolution. There was a cost involved, and I think that is family.
Well,
family
I was
unit.
watching this video, and this guy of Bidism, or I forget what it was, what website it was, what YouTube channel it was, but he did a study on school, and he's not even a Christian, I don't think, but he was doing where school started was, you know what I'm talking about?
No, but I kind of studied this before. I know where you're going.
But the Industrial Revolution started, and what they needed was people to fill these positions in the factories. So the school system was designed for people to just go along with the program and be factory workers. And his argument was we don't do that anymore. So the school system isn't really conducive for it. And I'm thinking, well, think about what you're saying.
Yeah.
We're training these people to be raised a certain way so we can go function in these factories for endless hours, just doing one job, and it's a meaningless task, that you have to do on an assembly line. And there is no meaning in your life at that point.
No, there's not.
Just a means to an end, to get money. That is the point, so you can go do the things that you want to do with your money. Well, and as Christians, that's not us, right?
No, public schools actually came about because I believe it was New York City.
New York City?
Yeah. They had a problem with truancy because a lot of the parents left the home to go work in the factories because they had to.
Sure.
And so you had all these kids on the streets that were causing trouble because like in the Proverbs, it says a child left to himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you don't say. Huh?
Yeah. So they had to do something. So the idea was to have school where it was a government-funded school and paid for by property taxes, and the kids would be in school all day while the parents were working. So by design, it separated the family and started breaking down the family unit.
Well, we're kind of still on the subject. Well, let me ask you another question then. Is Christianity compatible with the American dream?
That's a good question. I would say,
thank you.
Yeah. In some regards, yes, because my definition of American dream, having a house, and having time with my family,
right? And because that's the way you choose to live, right?
Yeah. Right. So, I don't think in an ideal world, I think it's a good thing to have, but I don't like the fact of having to leave my house every day to go to a job.
Sure.
Well, actually, I don't do that right now, but we do. But we're all go together. So
you leave your house?
Yeah. Well,
it's complicated.
It's very complicated. Very complicated.
But it is. I had a job for 15 years where I worked by myself, and now I'm working with my family, and it's been a difficult transition in a sense because I've been used to being by myself.
Right.
And so when you're now and I knew the job, and I didn't have to explain it to anybody. And now all of a sudden,
Careful.
well, no, this we have talked about this, but now I'm going from where I need to explain and I need to teach,
Right.
but the job also needs to get done.
Right.
And now my expectation is it would be done in a certain amount
Because
of time.
in the workforce, you hire they know the job already,
Right,
supposedly.
yeah.
You know, I don't know about these days, but they have they're expert in their field, and they just come and do the job and they leave.
Right.
But you have to kind of train your children, your wife, even,
Right.
how to do this certain thing, and maybe they're just not equipped
But no, and
for that particular task.
they're not, and so we had to. It's been a learning curve,
Yeah.
But at the same time, and we joke about it, but it's been a good experience because now we're working together and we're learning to work together.
Right.
So,
What about you, Chuck?
I think the idea of the American dream's changed.
Sure.
So the compatibility of Christianity with it may have changed as well. But I think the concept that we still can, in America, do anything we want to do if we try hard enough. The opportunities still exist. I think that concept is compatible. But Christianity is not very compatible with our culture today.
No.
And the American dream, as the culture defined it, is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's just pushed by advertisement, by media, by everything. You
It's
got to
the
have
media,
more.
really,
You got to
right.
have the newest. You got to have the best. And we're always just trying for more, and we become a slave to the things.
And you know why they do it? Because it works.
Yes.
The advertisement works, and you think you're stronger than it, but why did you buy the certain things you bought? Because it looked good on, they made a good pitch, and in some ways that's fine. They're making a good pitch. But where I see it most is like when we were working with the refugees, and I actually work with a refugee, and how it's changed them. They come over here expecting this is the land of milk and honey, and it is.
Yeah.
And it's where they come from, and and it does start to mess with their mind, and their culture is totally gone now, and they're trying to fit in here somewhere, and they just get caught up in the rat race where they got to work so they get money, because that's what you do. It's all about the money, unfortunately, and it doesn't have to be. Like the ethics of the American dream, so-called American dream, the work hard, make something of yourself. And I know it's very individualistic at times, where I'm going to be the man, I'm going to make myself, I don't need any help. That can be a problem too, but it's still true that if, hey, you can control your own destiny, if you want to say it like that, that sounds terrible. Well, but you have a chance to better your situation. You don't have to stay in the ghettos. You don't have to stay in an apartment complex your whole life. You can better yourself if you choose to.
Right. Yeah. And that's not bad.
No, it's not bad.
And it's
not at all.
Because we were talking about this earlier. That's not necessarily discontent.
Right.
And I wouldn't say you're greedy to want to do that either. That's just normal life. You should want to better yourself.
Okay, babe.
Well, I think if you look
I
around,
forgot to ask you.
That's okay. If you look around at America, I would have to say that it doesn't look like people are living a dream. Looks more like a nightmare.
Yeah,
I mean, when you look at the just the misery that you see, and it's like we have everything in front of us to live this dream life and it to be wonderful, but you see so much depression and so much anxiety and stress, and it doesn't look like a dream to me.
No, we've lost our way, obviously, and it's even crept into the church. Where you would expect the church to rise above that and be like, well, we're Christians. We don't need to worry about all those things. I don't want to get caught up in all that, but they do, especially in the bigger mega churches. They still promote, it's all about the look. It's all about the glam and the fame and stuff like that. It just mirrors the world, and there's no modesty at all. There's no humility. It's all about me. Look at me. Look what I can accumulate. Look how big I can get my name. Look how big I am, not in the physical sense, but how important I am. It becomes all about me, and that's a very American thing.
That is very
right.
Yeah.
A lot of the rest of the world doesn't even understand that part of it. It's all about me. They might nowadays with social media. It's all about everybody, right? Yeah. On social media.
Well, we have everything we want, but really nothing we need. I mean, we given up what we really need for the things that we want and just stuff, and those
Right.
things are unfulfilling.
Yeah.
They're fun. You get a new toy. I remember I have my younger brothers and sisters, because by the time they were getting in their teens, my parents actually had money, and
Right.
so they could buy. So they bought them all this stuff. They'd buy them brand new bicycles and everything, and they all ended up in a junk heap because they just didn't really value them,
Right.
because they thought, well, we'll just get more stuff,
Yeah.
and that's
Stuff
what
more.
happened. Yeah.
No, that's
So
unfortunate.
If Christianity is somewhat but not completely compatible with the American dream, and we define American dream as you're successful if you end up getting a lot of things, if you become financially independent. So what is it? How do you define the significance or success?
Yes, because that's really at the core of this. A lot of Americans, if you ask a non-believer or a nominal believer that, this question, I feel like they're going to immediately go to their job title, how much money they have in the bank, even though they're not going to say, I got 20,000, their stuff, they've accumulated in their life. But the success in life is pretty simple to me. I mean, are you doing God's will?
Yep.
Are you loving your wife? Are you loving your family? Are you raising your kids in the way they should go? Do you worship God? Do you fear God? Do you put that first? And you can do that in the ghettos. You can do that in maybe not Beverly Hills. I don't know. But you can.
You may not want to do it in Beverly Hills.
No, but you can be on top and you can be at the bottom. And like Paul said, I can be content in both those situations.
Right.
But because your heart is right at that point. And so there might be a time. See, you invented a gadget that everybody wants. You got the widgets are us, and everybody wants this. Is it your fault that all of a sudden millions of dollars are coming in? No, but okay, now is it going to change you? And unfortunately, it does sometimes.
Probably.
It doesn't have to, but it does. It just changes things. That's what the ultimate gift said, right? Money just changes you, and it changes things, and it changes relationships. It changes your mentality to looking at life. And like now I can supply my own needs. I don't need really to even think about God too much. And it's a slow fade in that direction. But you can still do it. I mean,
Right.
There's been plenty of people that have made money making something and still keep their Christianity.
Yeah.
But
Well,
to me, success
do you
is
think
just that.
significance, though, does go somewhat with fame? Because, you talk about my book, and it's like not many people have read it, so it's not that significant.
Which, by the way, if you want to get her book, and we can send you a book.
I'm just saying, I feel like sometimes that's kind of maybe a way you measure.
Okay, now you're
Meddling.
Yes, you are.
Stepping on toes.
Well, because there is some level of significance that we want to be used of God in this world, right? We want to, if no one is going to hear what we have to say, it feels like I'm not really significant, in this world. Regardless of the message, if it's a worldly message, if it's one of I'm just coming up with an idea and no one cares to hear about you, it's kind of depressing. Well, we have a message, and it does get depressing when no one wants to hear our message.
Yep.
You go out and preach and they don't hear about it. But so there is a level of significance that has meaning. But at the end of the day, my significance, I just look around at my children. First and foremost, that's, yes, I use my trite sayings just in two sentences. I come home.
John says, I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth or something.
Yes. That was in 3 John. And I believe that, right? That, hey, my children, I walk home, the cares of the world kind of melt away. Not that they didn't melt away, when I'm out there working. But I see my wife, I see my kids. Those things are important. My faith is extremely important, and that helps me make all my decisions to where I was talking with a guy today that we have very similar ideas about money. We don't spend a lot of money. The only difference is he has no problem with debt, and he buys a lot of these new vehicles. And I said, I would never do that. A new vehicle for me is $12,000, 15 years old,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that. I'm not making a judgment on him. I wouldn't do that. And that's fine. I know Chuck recently just bought a nice vehicle.
Yeah, it's
It's a nice one.
Looks nice and new and everything, and it's 9 years old.
That's right. Right. It's 9 years old, and it was a little pricey, but for what you got, you're fine with that. You do have to spend some money. It does have to be a part of our lives in some level. Yeah, I'm not trying to promote homelessness and that we try to just get away from living a certain life. Like, we live within this culture, and we're trying to find that Bible verse where you're in the world but you're not of the world. It's not exactly a quote like that, but it's in John 17 where he talks about similar things, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So significance, Larry, what do you think? And success. Are you a success?
Oh, wow.
I would say in some ways, yeah, but not in a worldly sense like a lot of people would judge, because I don't really have a big bank account, and
Sure about that?
I really don't. Well, I don't really have a job. But
Baby steps.
yeah. I mean, I look at my kids and I'm like, that's a pretty good success.
Yeah.
Right.
So far, I mean, they're not married, and
So we should let the Bible define success, not
that's
our
right.
culture.
Yeah, because the Bible, to me, and this is what I told my kids, especially the boys, I'm like, I don't care if you end up being a maintenance worker at McDonald's, but
Or
you're
a window
serving
cleaner.
God. Well, yeah,
Or a window cleaner.
but you're serving God.
Right.
To me, that's a success.
Right, absolutely.
It reminds me of that old movie, The Richie Rich.
Okay.
The villain, he's trying to get their money and find where they hide their family vault with all the gold and stuff. And he does find it, but what he finds in there is family albums and
Isn't
kids'
that
toys.
just so sweet? No, I missed that one.
Oh. But no, but so,
I didn't see the movie. I watched the cartoon growing up.
Right. That's what it is. Right?
But so the point was, what they valued as their most valuable treasure wasn't really important to anybody else but them. And
Yeah.
it was.
And I think that's, universal. Whenever we come to the end of our life, we're not going to look back and wish we had more stuff.
Right. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
remember that
you never-
bumper sticker? I think it was popular in the 90s, 80s, and 90s. He who dies with the most toys wins.
Still dies.
Or it was, that was the
Still
other one.
dies.
Yeah,
Right.
still dies.
Right.
So you're not
it's-
taking it with you.
So it's important, and the earlier in life that you can do this, the better, to define what success is for you.
Yeah.
So is it chasing after things? Is it trying to move up the corporate ladder? Is it a job? Is it a title? Is it status? Or in my case, it's I wanted to have a family, and I wanted to have children and raise a family, and I wanted to be able to enjoy my time and my life with them. I wanted to please God with the things that I had. If you define what that success is, and in those terms, then you can determine how much do I need to work.
Yeah.
How much do I need
Exactly.
financially
Right, yeah.
to be able to do that? And anything above that isn't really necessary.
Yeah, because you think about you work up your whole life this corporate ladder for what? You worked for a man who built this business, or it might be a good, like you work at a hospital, so that's a good cause, right?
Yeah.
A hospital, we kind of need those around, but we work our whole life to work up for what, and I, honestly, it is for prestige. Or money. It's got to be, because maybe if you have a good cause of a job, which, there's very far between. I mean, they produce services. They produce things like iPhones and things like that we use, but do we actually need them? And I think that's where we get caught up. But that is a good point.
You brought up significance too. I think a good point. Like Sarah, your book, it's a good message, and people need to hear it.
Yeah, get it.
Yeah, it can be very helpful, especially to young ladies. And that's a message that needs to be out there. But it does give us a sense of significance, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's the way God designed us. It's like an artist when they do their artwork and everybody likes it.
Are we doing this for God, or
Right.
are we trying to build our own kingdom? And I think that's where we get confused sometimes. We get so comfortable, and it's easy to get comfortable in our culture because we have a lot of things,
Yeah.
and it can be fun. but are we building our own kingdom here? Have we forgotten about heaven? We're still looking to go to a better place. I think some people get confused, and this is the better place.
Yeah.
But if you come to Baton Rouge,
you might be disappointed.
yes,
Wow.
maybe that's why we look forward to heaven.
Go to Clinton. It's prettier.
It's better. Yeah.
Well, when I think of success, wow.
Well, hello.
Yes, we got a phone call.
Oh,
Okay.
And God's
Hello?
calling.
When I think of success, and even with things like the book or whatever, I feel like to
Is
me,
that a success?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I feel like for me, it's being faithful to do what I think God wants me to do. So whether it's write a book or be on a show or
That's right.
raise my kids or whatever it is that I have to do, I just need to be faithful to honor him with everything that I do in my life, so that one day when I meet him face to face, he'll say, "Well done."
Yep.
And
that's-
at that point, that's all that matters. So I'm
Because
like,
that's the one we're trying to please. We want to please the Lord, right?
Right.
I want to do what God wants first and foremost above all. It's like, what are we doing in our life? What is the purpose? Is it to please someone else? Some business? Is it to gain money so that our kids could live better than we did, and we could live an inheritance? I would rather leave an inheritance of character for my kids, faith for my kids, than money. And my kids probably know this, but they're probably not getting much money from us. Sorry, guys.
spoiler alert.
Yeah. So I hope you enjoy your stuff now. So anyway,
Well, yeah, but money is, like I said, it's a tool, and how you use it, whether you have a lot of it or not much at all.
well, that's what you were saying earlier,
Yeah.
that we didn't really answer your question. Like, what's the line between contentment and greed? And this is where I would never be a good cult leader, because I don't give those lines.
Right, yeah.
I leave it up to you. You have to, in
it's-
your heart, know where you think you're going too far. The problem with this, it's a slow, subtle.
slow fade.
It is.
Yeah,
It's a subtle
yeah.
thing that creeps in, that a little justification here. I was listening to someone yesterday, and they were talking about the story of Naaman getting healed of leprosy.
Yeah.
And he went in and he didn't get saved. He got healed, and he wanted to pay Elijah. And it was Elijah, right?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go with that. Okay, it's Elijah.
Maybe.
And
I don't remember now.
Anyway,
One
Elijah
of them.
had a servant, right?
Gehazi.
Gehazi. So it was Elijah. So Elijah was like, he wanted to pay Elijah, and Elijah was like, "No, I don't want to take your money."
Yeah.
But Gehazi, if you look at the story, there's a couple different, like, he came back and he kept trying to justify, and he wanted the money.
Yeah, he wanted it.
And he eventually got cursed and got leprosy himself.
Yep.
And that is the problem with the American mindset. It's not necessarily the American dream part. It changes the mindset,
Right.
where my focus now is on my work instead of my family. It's more on money than God. And you can't serve both masters.
No.
So it's like Gehazi, it's slow. You justify it until you live on an estate, and you've forgotten your purpose on this world. You've forgotten your mission, and you're living it up. And next thing you know, you're justifying why you have all what you have, which is kind of funny, because we looked up this topic on YouTube and stuff, and it's all these preachers, big time preachers, that are answering the questions, and they got a lot of money, so they're gonna, their answers are gonna be skewed. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
I know. I was gonna say, I always taught my kids to be careful what you ask for,
Because you might get it.
because you might get it. Yeah.
Yes, that's the sad part.
That is. 'Cause
Okay, so you were asking about the job or the mission.
No, we haven't got there yet. but I
Oh,
was
you kind of
curious
asked
about-
like that, you know.
So yeah, that's an interesting question. So do you see your work or your job, your work as a job or as a mission?
See, now this one's a
I-
tricky one, because I struggled with this for years, and Evan actually helped me out with this. He's my boss, and because for a while I'm like, I'm just a window cleaner. I want to do something more meaningful, something with meaning, right? And I couldn't accept the fact that I'm just a window cleaner. And he's like, you got to stop saying you're just a window
Right.
cleaner. You're providing a service that people want.
Yep.
It may not be that important of one to you, but it's actually making money for you so you can raise your family and you can do the things like you're doing right now.
Exactly.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? That's a good point.
Yeah.
That is a fair point. I want to do this so I can be pleasing to the Lord, and then use the money that I get from this and please Him even more. And by raising my kids and using it for the glory of God. So they're even as a window cleaner, where you might think, come on, man, that's not that important of a job. But it's important.
It is. And I think God blesses us when we don't let the money define us.
What about you, Chuck? I'm curious, because you have an important position.
Mine's
Yeah.
interesting because I mean, I work at a hospital,
Right.
So you look at that and say, well, as a hospital, anybody working at a hospital is a job or a mission, and it's kind of both because you're
Right.
providing a service where you're trying to help people that need help with health.
Yeah.
But I'm an IT. I'm a computer guy, and for me, honestly, it's just a job.
Right.
It's a source to be able to get money to be able to do those other things.
Right.
There's more mission. Now, does that mean I don't have impact on the people that I work with? No. I mean, I
Right,
have
right,
that
right.
opportunity, and everybody does, regardless. But I couldn't really
Did
say I
you,
look
did you
at
ever
my job
struggle
as a
like
mission.
I struggled, like with meaning in your job?
No,
And
I don't think
so you
so.
just, this is my job. I'm going to
right.
take the time that I have here and turn it into the money.
Yeah.
And use it for God's glory
Right, right.
by raising my family in the way that I want them to raise and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, a means to an end.
Right. And I think you kind of answered that in the previous question, but is there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I thought
Okay.
that was good. That's a good. I mean, because like you said, Chuck, it's a job because we need to make money. I mean,
Yes, in this
That's-
world, it's not necessarily money is a revealer, a
Right.
huge
yeah.
revealer,
and it's not the root of all evil. It's the love of money.
It is
It's
the
root
love of money, and that is
a big
where the
difference.
fine line is. How do you know you love money? That's a question you're going to have to figure out.
Yeah.
And these things are, a lot of us just want black and white answers, right? Like, hey, just tell me where the line is.
Yeah.
Like, no. This is the wonderful thing about a relationship with God is that He brings you to those places if you're listening, if you pay attention. Because I'm sure there's times where we don't live gaudy, but I'm sure there's been times where I was frivolous with money and that I was wasteful. I know I was wasteful with money. I could tell you there's certain times I'm just totally wasted it. And, and we learn from that though, be like, no, that's not a good use of the money. And time and effort and things like that, right? So where God is bringing us into conforming us to the image of His Son, and if we just do black and white lists, like this is what you can have and you can't have. You can't have a black car, you can't have a shiny car. You can't have a car that's within 2017. Well, that's just ridiculous.
Right. Well, you brought up a good point. It's a relationship we have with God, and it's like a parent with a child. Each child is different in a lot of ways, so you have to do things a little bit different. But as soon as you start putting boundary or making things black and white, or trying to define things, you become a cult, or legalistic at best, I guess. But so the lines get a little blurry.
Yeah, it doesn't answer the question so much, but too bad. Start praying.
Yeah,
start reading the scriptures and seeing what God would want you to do. And anyway, what about you, babe, or Larry?
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, well, my work I see more as a mission.
Yes, absolutely.
Can't really be a job. If it were a job, I'm failing because
Ain't she the star?
because I make nothing doing it.
No, she's
But,
a homemaker and she stays home with the kids. And so obviously, but yes.
But that is,
Sorry.
a lot of in our culture today, we talk about our culture, that is really looked down upon.
It is.
And especially, and it's in the church, because what do we do as churches? A lot of times, especially young ladies, you push them to go to college, get a degree, get a career, and then what? And then you say, well, okay, maybe you should have a family. But then what are they going to do with their career? Are they going to quit their career?
No, not usually.
No, they usually put the kids in daycare, or Christian school. You just divided the family once again.
The machine keeps going, and the people who suffer are the kids.
Exactly. And what do we need in our society today is we need moms to be at home.
Right.
And raise kids. It's an important job. And
it's a huge job. I think your job is the most important. Why don't we just, what does the Bible teach about riches and success? So let's go to 1 Timothy 6 through 10, right? It's kind of a long passage here. Joshua, I know we're way past, but that's all right. We're going to save the email toward the next segment here. We're getting there. Okay, go.
But godliness with contentment is great gain, for we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and raiment, let us be therewith content. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and lustful and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows.
I think that pretty much sums up what we just talked about.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
The deceitfulness of riches will lead you down a path that is deceptive. It's not good for us. And godliness with contentment is great gain. That was an episode we did like last season or something like that. But anyway,
this is a revealer how the Bible is so different than even at the culture of the time. Because, like in the Egyptian, in the pyramids, or even you see this in ancient China where the emperor would die.
Yeah, they thought they could take it with them.
Yeah, they would.
As we dig it up thousands of years later,
Yeah,
no,
it's still there. You're not
here.
taking it with you. You're not taking that stuff to the afterlife. Yeah,
All right. What about Matthew 6:19-21?
Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
And that's the key right there, right? And that's where it's a heart issue.
Yeah.
And that's where I think money, there's nothing wrong with money, but it is definitely a revealer. Where your treasure is, there's your heart. And if you start getting caught up in our culture and the way of doing things, of just building up and amassing stuff, well, what are you doing? You know, your treasure is not with God. Your treasure is not with your family. Your treasure is not with your wife and kids. I guess that's your family. And so it's churned, and it's churned towards covetousness and towards stuff and things which don't bring pleasure.
Yeah. If you think you don't have a lot of stuff, try moving.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to.
You know by personal experience.
me
Yeah, I
too.
do. Yeah.
Yes. I don't want to move.
Yeah. You know, another side, people, you might be thinking, well, you know, you guys are just saying this stuff. It's really not like that. People aren't that way. You know what one of the growing businesses in our country?
Storage units.
Yes. Storage
Yes.
units.
Yeah.
They're all over the place.
So that we can put our stuff somewhere else.
Yes. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
Yeah, they
don't
even have
have room
shows
for it
for the
anymore.
storage wars. And
Don't have room for it anymore in my
right.
home, so I'm going to put it in this other place and pay somebody to be able to
it.
use their storage and forget
Right.
what's in there.
Yeah, exactly.
we don't want to let go.
We don't wanna let
It
go.
has meaning. It has value, right? Okay. So what else, babe? You had like notes that we don't have notes.
Well, that reminded me of that verse about the guy who had all the.
he built up all these
built-
things, and he
yeah.
said, "You fool, your
Yeah,
life will be
yeah.
demanded of you tonight."
He built bigger
Right.
barns to store all of his stuff, and then
Yeah.
Lost it
There's
all.
a lot of people in America that are like that. We
Yeah.
make our plans and bigger houses, bigger, fancier cars, and bigger, nicer things. Not that nice things aren't bad. You know, I'm not saying
Right.
that. When I put on a shirt, I want it to not have holes in it. You know, but
not so bad,
most of the time, yeah, right. But but to what degree do I need to spend $80 on a shirt? You know, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what shirts cost. You know, my shirts cost $10. So
Excuse me, when's the last time you bought a shirt?
I haven't bought a shirt in 20 some years.
you sound like me.
Yeah, I honestly have not bought a shirt. You bought me shirts, but
I've bought you shirts,
Yeah, but
yeah.
anyway, all right. So, any last words?
So I think we need to read. I think we need to do 1 John 2:15.
okay, you have
17.
something. Okay,
Oh yeah.
So it's 1 John 2:15 through 17 says, "Love not the world,
Oh, yeah.
neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, is not of the Father,
Yeah.
but of the world.
That's a good
Now
one.
the world passeth away, and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of God abideth forever."
Yeah, that's these things, they pass away, right?
Yep.
They don't last. And so the love of this world is like, if you love this world, you're going to die. it's going to waste away.
Yep.
But no, that's a good verse. Love it. That's like with James 4:4, where it says friendship with the world is enmity towards God. And it's like, you got to choose which one you're going to plead. That doesn't mean you have to live like a pauper.
Right.
No, you don't have to be homeless, living in a trailer somewhere. You can live in a normal house. You can live in a normal way. Right. But you got to check your heart.
It's the desire of the heart. Right.
Yeah.
What is your heart set on?
That's what I like. Is that this is so hard because it is a hard issue, and you have to, like, I get pricked with some of these things, in my heart, like, ooh man, am I being greedy? So you're growing with this all the time. You guys are older than I am, and you're still probably dealing with the same things, right?
I'd like to say no, but that would not be true.
Say no?
Right. Well, I think it's good. We're still learning. We're still growing. And that's fine.
Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
I mean, I hope to keep learning and growing until I'm not here anymore.
That's right. Did you have another verse?
That was the only one.
Well, real quick, an interesting thing about that verse is every temptation we face, we deal with, is those three things right there. And it's that simple. It doesn't seem like it's...
But it can come down to those.
Yeah, it comes down to
the
those.
lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. I mean, think about it. We just covered those. Is your job. Well, do I get pride out of who I am? I know I would be humbled when I'm an engineer, I'm a doctor, I'm a window cleaner. I'd have to come up with a name. I'm a residential specialist.
That's right.
And what does that mean? It just means I'm a window cleaner.
You're gonna make me go look up the term that they came up for a housewife. It's this long
domestic engineer.
Title.
Yeah. I've heard domestic engineer.
Domestic engineer. Yeah.
Sounds a little better than
I'm just a housewife. You're a domestic engineer.
No, it's better than that. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, yeah, look it up. That'd be good. What do you got, babe?
Okay, Matthew 6:33 says, "But seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you."
Now, I've heard the prosperity teachers use this verse.
All these things.
But do we seek God? Do we seek His righteousness first? I mean, that is an amazing thing. And here's the funny thing, and I bet, forget about your Kenneth Copelands and all that, but I bet if you seek the kingdom of God first, you're not going to be so concerned about what's on TV and what the newest fads are, the newest things that are out there. When a new car comes out, man, I'm just like, wow, that's going to be a nice car for me to look at in 10 to 15 years. And,
right, exactly.
I'm like, wow, that'd be interesting. Look, my eyes get turned to new things, and I get caught up and be like, man, I need a new phone too because I got an iPhone 7. And I'm 7 generations behind. But it costs money, and I have to. Is this really what God wants? And so seeking His kingdom, and that's a good one.
Yeah, it's interesting to go back to look and see what Paul wrote to Timothy. That what do you need to have to be content? Food and raiment.
Yeah,
that's what she was saying.
List,
like,
right?
Man,
you don't even need a house, man.
Exactly. Just food and raiment.
Yep, food and clothes, man. Ouch.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well,
so I want to tell a story.
Oh, Joshua's got a story. All right.
So when I was younger,
oh boy,
we were praying in church, and I was praying for money, and then someone passed me a plate of money.
Yes. Yes, that's funny. That's a joke.
That's funny since he's never been to church.
Did you make change?
Right. Yeah. Have you ever made change in the offering?
No, I've never made change.
Like, I got, here's $5. Oh, I'm 10.
Switch that out.
Switch it out. No, that's funny, Joshua. Okay, what were you
I was
going to say?
just going to say, you talked about, your eyes being turned to something new, and just makes me think of the hymn, which I read about today. I don't know if you guys know the story behind "Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus."
No.
Ever heard that story?
I'm sure we hear that for the Sarah Minute of Music or whatever.
No. Well, anyway,
that's a good one.
It was written by a woman that she was born in the 1800s sometime, and
she's really old.
If she was still alive, she would be really old. But anyway, she loved music from a child, and eventually grew up and got married, and then she got sick and ended up going blind.
Oh, wow.
And her husband left her.
Oh, wow.
And so she was struggling and ended up coming across some writings from another missionary, and it inspired her to write, "Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in His wonderful face, and the things of this earth will grow strangely dim."
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And just to think of, her saying, "Turn your eyes on Jesus and look in His face," and she's blind, so she can't see him.
That wasn't Fanny Crosby, was it?
No.
No. Okay.
No,
Was she blind as well?
Her name is Helen Lemmel.
Oh.
Helen Lemmel?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. That was a preview of what you could find in season 3 with Sarah Charleston's So, all right. Well, guys, we
I have
do
to
have
borrow that. I might have to use that at family camp.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're singing that song.
Yeah.
We got a couple questions. We got one question. And so after this, we saved the email to last. Hopefully you're all right with that. But please still hang around to hear this question. So, all right.
Thank you for listening. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, so we are back, and this is the email time, and we have an email from William, and I don't know if that's his first name or his last name. So it could be last name.
It could be, yeah.
You know, I was like,
What if his name was Bill? William.
Actually, a medical director that we used to have at the hospital, his name was William Williams.
That's
William
awesome.
Williams.
Wow.
Yeah, he didn't go by Billy.
Nope.
I knew Billy Williams.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
He was in Star Wars.
Oh yeah, that's
Wasn't
right.
that Billy Williams?
No,
No, it wasn't. No, Billy Williams was a singer or something like that. I don't know.
Anyway,
Okay.
sounds familiar.
Billy Williams. Anyway. Yeah.
Anyway.
William Williams. Okay.
William Williams.
Anyway, it says, hello, Mike. So I guess he's talking to me. I have two questions for you. Number one, have you heard of Michael Heiser? I'm guessing that's how you pronounce his name.
I think so. I don't.
And his doctrine. Okay, I'll stop right there. First question, have you heard of? I actually have heard of him lately, like within the last couple months. I know Mike Winger did an interview with him, and I saw that, and I was going to watch it, but it was long. And I guess he's the guy that he has the Naked Bible podcast.
Yeah,
That's him?
Yeah.
Michael Heiser? Okay. And so Michael Thornton, a guy in our fellowship, he really likes this guy. So I know a little bit about him and what he teaches and stuff like that. But you, Larry.
Yeah, I thought he had some good stuff. I was actually, he talks a lot about the divine counsel.
the Divine Council.
And you read the Bible, and it's like, especially the story in 1 Kings 22, I believe
Yes,
it is.
that's where he gets a lot of it from.
Right. And he goes, Psalms 82 is another one, if I think that's correct. But basically, in a nutshell, what it is God has a council.
Right.
And in 1 Kings 22, you see this where you can look it up, but
He's
anyway,
like, what are we going to do here?
Yeah.
And he says, well, I'll send a lying spirit.
Yeah, he said that one angel, I guess,
Right.
will say, I'll go. And God says, what do you do? He goes, well, I'll be a lying spirit. And God says, okay, go.
Right.
So it seems like it's something we don't understand fully, but it does kind of make sense where, in any king or kingdom, the king will have advisors. He'll have a council. I don't think God is much different than
what I know of him through Michael Thornton and all that, but I think his end time stuff, I obviously am going to disagree with.
Yeah, but as far as stuff like that, it's like it could be.
Right.
I mean, it seems to, biblically speaking, it seems to make sense.
Sure.
But
And Chuck, you
I had never heard of him.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of when we said the Naked Bible, you were like, okay.
Well, I looked it up today after I saw the question, but
so you have heard of him
just today, very recently. So by the way, I just found out that he passed away.
Yes, that's what you were
that
telling
was the
us
first
just
thing I saw,
Monday.
that he had pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
So I was
Wow.
assuming
So
that
he is
I
no
might be
longer
the
amongst
case.
us. So
No,
everything
no.
that you want to get is going to have to be either a book or
Right.
old
He has
stuff.
several books out. He was teaching at Liberty University for a while, but
Liberty. Not that one?
No,
Okay.
not that one.
Number two, he said, how familiar are you with Doug Wilson and Christian nationalism? Okay, so Doug Wilson was a hockey player, and he was a
Yeah,
defenseman.
wow.
Oh, wait, not that Doug Wilson? Okay. No, Doug Wilson is a guy I am very well familiar with. We found him 20-some years ago when we
Wow.
started home churching and homeschooling. He lives in Moscow, Idaho, and maybe that's why it's stuck in my mind. And so he was in some publications that we had, a lot of homeschooling stuff. And actually, a lot of his family stuff I agree with. If you look on some of his videos, he's very controversial because of his stance on women and a biblical woman. And I bet you everyone here would pretty much agree with him. He's got a high view of the family and children and raising your children in a godly way. So in that aspect, I like what Doug Wilson says. He stands up for truth when it comes to our culture. He's very, when it talks about homosexuality and things like that, this is what the Bible teaches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, he's a Calvinist, and I'm not. So I'm going to obviously disagree with him on those issues. And it does come out in a lot of his teachings. And so that can get tiresome because he's just wrong in that area. But that's, what else am I going to say, right? He thinks I'm wrong.
Well, you could agree with him, but then we'd both be wrong.
But his Christian nationalism. Now, Chuck, you're familiar with this, right?
Yeah, with the idea of Christian nationalism, I'm familiar with that, and I can understand the concept of wanting to have Christianity more prevalent in the culture.
Right.
And I agree that we should take the opportunities that we have to expound Christianity within our culture wherever we intersect.
Right.
To the point, I don't know how far he takes it or exactly what Doug would have to say about it, but I'm not the one that feels like that this is a Christian nation,
right?
Or necessarily was it founded on biblical principles? I think a lot of it was.
The principles were there, right?
Yeah, but to be a Christian nation, I don't think we are. I think we are what people consider a melting pot, and I'm not afraid to have Christianity stand alongside with anything else because I believe Christianity will stand tall and be
absolutely,
and the others will fall.
Yeah,
right. And that doesn't even concern me if Christianity doesn't grow, it doesn't change my faith.
Right.
We're promised that actually it's probably not going to grow as much as maybe some other things. But Christian nationalism, when you're a Calvinist and you have your certain end times belief, and they have a view of the end times that's way different than what I believe. And it's going to lend toward this, how they have to usher in the kingdom of God. So it totally makes sense if you're a Calvinist. If you're not a Calvinist, I don't understand. I guess you want to Christianize the nation, and but it's like God and the flag, the Bible and the flag at the same time. And I'm just like, I'm a Christian first. I love America. I'm not very proud to be an American, because of some of the things that we've done.
Right.
And that's the problem with that, is that the nation as a whole has done some bad things.
Yeah.
And that we're not always proud with. But I love where I live. I've loved everywhere that I've lived. I love people that are here, and I love the way we do things in America. I'm comfortable because this is where I've been raised, and I don't want to necessarily live anywhere else. So I'm all for that. And I want to Christianize areas of the world, not if it turns into a Geneva. If it turns into a Geneva like Calvin did in Switzerland, I don't want that.
No.
You're forcing Christianity upon people, and that's a problem to me. Yes, thank you. That is exactly what happened.
Well, if you want to Christianize the nation, you don't do that through legislation.
No, you don't.
You do that through preaching the gospel and seeing people get saved.
That's the truth, right?
Yeah.
You're right. He goes on, he said, so that was his two questions. He's like, I personally have studied both and found them lacking a solid foundation in Scripture, and I would like your opinion on it. Well,
yeah, I would say, if I didn't mean to interrupt, but I would say he's correct in that, because both of them, like Mike Hess,
Heiser.
He views the Bible as most traditional scholars as the originals were inspired, but what we have today is less than that.
Yeah, he's more of the Old Testament scholar.
Right. And so he doesn't have a firm foundation because he uses the Greek, the Hebrew. And
I think he was actually I saw a debate with him and Andy Stanley, I think, where Andy Stanley is all the scriptures are irrelevant.
Right. Yeah.
And we don't need we tried to separate the Old Testament from Christianity, and he was like, no.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Because he's a big time Old Testament scholar. But he's like, personally, I've studied both. I would be curious, William, your take on them.
Oh, yeah.
You've studied both of them and know them a little bit more. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you think on those subjects? Because I watched a few videos of Doug Wilson, especially here in the last year. Someone brought, hey, did you know this person? I'm like, yeah. And he has short clips out there on certain things, and they're actually pretty decent, the ones that I saw. But I already know where he stands on a lot of things because I've read his stuff for 20 years, and I'm not a huge fan. I do appreciate his stand on the family and marriage and women and men, and all those things are very solid. So he's a lot like Vodi Bachman, where I really like Vodi in a lot of areas, but there's going to be a lot of things I disagree with in theology.
That reminded me of maybe we could do a show on this about the isms in Christianity.
The isms, yes. Like isms.
Nationalism.
Yeah, this is not a bad one to do one on, is Christian nationalism and what that actually looks like. And I think we got a taste of that when Trump was in office.
Well, and that leads towards dominion theology, dominionism. Exactly. There's another ism.
Yep, that's very Calvinistic type thinking. But, with Trump was in office, a lot of the Christians were like, oh, Trump is our savior. Well, and I know they didn't necessarily mean it like in the savior sense as Christ, but I wonder sometimes.
Well, I think Trump is going to win the presidency again, and then the rapture's going to happen.
But how many Trumps is that?
Well, because he'd be the last Trump.
The last Trump. Yes, but there were 7 Trumps. Is Eric Trump going to be in there?
7 Trumps.
Anyway.
Well, the 7 trumpets come later in the book of Revelation.
After the last Trump?
Oh, after the rapture.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Good point. Okay. Anyway, isn't he a smart one? So, all right, guys. Well, thank you for listening and watching. If you're watching on YouTube, and I think we're like 1 subscriber away from 200. So come on, man.
Come on.
If you're out there, do it, man.
Subscribe.
Yes, hit that subscribe
You got a prize?
button. I don't have a prize. I don't know how you would do that. I would take the 200 subscribers and mix them in a thing, but not everybody. I could see who. I don't know how to do that.
I don't think we have a way to know who everybody is.
Yeah, I could give away Sarah's book, but anyway,
you could give away the first edition Layla on family camp T-shirt.
Oh yeah, the T-shirt. That's right. We could do that. It would be weird if they don't go to the camp, but
that would encourage them to come.
That's a good thing. Just a reminder, we do have the Alaylon Family Camp, the Mississippi Shindig / Alaylon Family Camp. The sign up is there. You just go to MississippiShindig.com and you can sign up there. Also, we're all going to be at the Ohio camp. I've heard there's over 750 people signed up.
Well, there's over 700 now. There was a 650 last week. So, lots of folks planning to come. They're working with logistics.
Yes. Wow. It's going to be, I bet you there's going to be more. It's going to turn into Woodstock. That's what's going to happen. That's what's going to hapen. I know that's what's going to happen.
But we are looking forward to that.
But we've got a spot. That's all I know.
Yeah, we do.
We're on stage. So.
Yes, we are.
So that's where my seat is.
Don't be discouraged by the fact that you have to see us if you come on stage.
That's right. No, but if I can't find a seat, I'm just going to go back up on the stage and be like, I don't care if the preacher doesn't want me up there. I'm going to sit. So anyway, thank you again for watching and listening. And if you do have any questions, you can go to the Facebook page and message us, or we actually got a couple of personal messages saying that they've watched the show, and we appreciate all that. We do appreciate everyone watching and listening. So, all right. Until next week, we'll talk to you later.
Hi, I'm Joshua Charleston, the producer for The Mike Charleston Show. If you enjoy listening to the show, please help us spread the word by liking, subscribing, sharing, leaving a review, or just tell a friend. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you'd like to be a part of the show, please email us at talk@fellowshipofbelievers.org. We look forward to hearing from you.
We hope you enjoyed listening to The Mike Charleston Show. The Mike Charleston Show.